Our first question today is going to be from Dylan Bowker of My MMA News. Dylan Bowker, please go ahead.
Yeah, appreciate you making some time here. I'm just kind of curious because, you're stepping into a high stakes fight here with Shinya Aoki. Like, how key of a moment is this in your career, just this tiebreaker fight with Aoki?
Well, of course, I didn't expect that we will be facing each other again in this time, because I've been in my lose streak, and he had been winning all his fights. So when his opponent and my opponent were injured, then probably it's a divine appointment for us to meet each other.
Yeah, and you've been with one since their very first event there, and just with this being a big event on TNT, getting a lot of broad exposure to the North American audience. Can you talk about the journey of one championship and just your growth by proxy kind of with that? Because it's pretty amazing to see.
It's been fun to be in one championship ever since its inauguration. I didn't expect that it will grow this big, and for now it is already going into the West, and a lot of my countrymen there are of course very happy to watch us live. And I think I also grow as an athlete here, as an martial artist. I learned a lot of lessons. I had a lot of wins and losses, but the most important thing there is that I was able to capture the belt for 2 times, and of course I'm aiming for the 3rd time again. And of course, it's a pretty tough journey, but it's worth it.
Our next question will go to Leon Jennings of Asian Persuasion MMA.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster month for you. How tough has it been, and how tough has it been to change from opponents from Sexyama to Shinya Aoki on short notice?
Of course, it's 360 degrees, a turn. Shinya and Akiyama have their different style of fighting. And when they told me that I'll be facing Shinya, it's really a lot of adjustment to do. Shinya is known for his aggressiveness on the ground, and he's finishing a lot of his opponents. So I need to really shift my focus, shift my the way I will handle his style.
Obviously, the key to beating him is keeping the fight on the feet. Do you have a plan for that, to keep the fight standing where you have the big advantage?
Of course, as much as possible, I want the fight to be on my strong side. But everything happens. It's mixed martial arts, and as much as possible, I need to be prepared in all the areas of the sport.
There's another big lightweight bout on the card, Peter Booth versus Lowen Tainanus. How do you see that one going down?
It's a good fight, Lowen is more on ground fighter. He's a good wrestler, and Peter is good on his feet. So it's a matter of the one who can implement his game plan well, and who is really ready will win the fight.
Well, lastly, what's your thoughts on Christian Lee and his recent performance, knocking out Timothy Nastayukin?
Hugo, congratulations to Christian Lee. He really grows as an athlete. He showed an amazing performance on his last fight against Timothy, and it's a really great win for him.
Thank you, Leon. Our next question goes to Jude Briosis of Overtime Heroics MMA.
With the familiarity between you and Shinya, do you think that in this 3rd time that you guys meet, you will be the one who can adjust the most and get the victory?
Of course, in a positive sense, yun ang gusto natin. Hindi naman natin alam ang mangyayari, pero as much as possible, yun yung nabivisualize natin gawin. Of course, magaling si Shinya sa ground. Magaling din ako sa striking. So, kung paano namin laruin yung game namin, I think kung sino ang makapag-initiate ng maayos, siya ang mananalo dito.
This next question will go to Nick Akin of South China Morning Post.
Just wanted to ask, has it been tough to prepare for this fight and train Obviously, there's a difficult situation in the Philippines right now with COVID-19. Has that affected it?
Of course, Nick, there's a lot of adjustment. The former things that we are doing before the outdoor trainings, we really adjusted a lot. It's pretty tough, but I think the good thing there is that we are athlete. We know how to find ways to train, and I believe we come here already.
Do you have a message for all of the fans back home as well who might be going through a tough time now? Do you have anything you want to say to them?
I just wanna say, to be stay strong. I believe that this will gonna remain forever. It will pass, and as long as we keep our faith, we can be able to overcome this.
And just lastly from me, are you feeling any extra pressure going into this fight? I mean, given the way the last fight with Shinya went, and also, I think you've lost 4 of the last 5 fights. Is there any pressure for you going into this one?
Well, there will always be a pressure, but this is our work. This as an athlete, we are warriors, and we need to be ready to face whoever on our way. As long as the destination that we want to go is there.
Edward, we have this next question from Louis Morales of Philstar.com, and the question is this. Edward, this trilogy fight with Shinya was a last-minute decision. How did that affect your preparation? Are you confident in how you were able to adjust to the new opponent?
It affected my preparations because I'm preparing for a different style of fighter, Sakiyama. And then I need to really change the strategy that I need to implement against a trilogy bout between Shinya. It's a lot of adjustment, but the good thing there is that I want to do something despite of changes. I want to give the best performance that I can. That's why when they ask me to go and fight against him, then no doubts, I want that fight because probably it's a good date for us to meet each other again.
This is a follow-up question from Philstar.com. You and Shinya have faced each other twice, so you're very familiar with each other's fighting style. How do you plan to still surprise him in this next fight?
Of course, if there's a plan, there is just to make the fight on the feet, and to execute my game plan well, of course, and that's the way how I see it.
Next question will go to Gavin Austin of Behind the Grind.
To this fight as a sizable underdog, does this motivate you to prove people wrong and show that you shouldn't be doubted?
Of course, I really like being an underdog because lesser expectations for you to win, and it gives a lot of motivation for me to do my best and to give whatever I have prepared for.
Our next question goes to Nisi Icasiano of IB Times.
Manong Ed, tanong ko lang sa'yo, different circumstance. The first one, it happened in Singapore. It's for the title. You were the challenger. The second fight, it happened in Tokyo. Obviously, it's in Shinya Aoki's home turf. Plus, you're defending the title. Can you say that you're more motivated and less pressure heading to this fight, especially that it's a very difficult circumstance heading to the third fight?
Yes, of course. I'm really motivated coming in this fight. The good thing there is, I tested negative in all the PCR tests. Of course, that's the most important thing. And we prepared well, even though there's a lot of adjustment. But I think it's the right time for us to meet each other again in this trilogy fight.
Just the last question. According to sources that you closely trained with Stephen Loman, and we all know that Stephen tested positive for COVID-19. COVID-19? Do you believe that this fight was really intended to happen? You know that you really had that close interaction with Stephen, and now that it's happening after all the problems that occurred during this month.
Yeah, I think this fight was really intended to go because some of my opponents have tested positive, but I'm lucky or I'm blessed that I didn't tested positive, and all the results have been negative. So I'm just looking for a positive result for this fight.
Our next question will go to Chris Mancuso of Tarpsoft Sports.
Okay, so we've had the pandemic. You're coming into this fight against an opponent. Yeah, at short notice, you know a lot about him. During the time off, what do you think you perfected most to get you back on the right path to victory? What's the one thing you worked on in your game?
Of course, my defense, and I think embracing the other aspect of this sport, the wrestling part, is really an interesting way to appreciate the different aspect of this sport. We learn a lot, and of course, it will help you to be a better fighter.
Our next question will go to Kate Reyes of Spin Philippines. Kate Reyes.
So mangangamusta lang po ako. How was the situation with Team Lakay who tested positive, and how are they coping?
Well, my teammates are already recovered. Okay naman na sila. And back to training ulit.
Okay. Kamusta naman po sa stable? Ano na pong normal na po yung trainings? Ganun.
Oo naman, pero syempre kailangan talagang maging maingat din as much as possible talaga. Kung sino lang yung mga may competition or kung sino lang yung mga pro athletes, sila lang nagte-training muna.
Okay po. Second question, Manong, what's your biggest motivation going into this fight?
My greatest motivation, of course, may faith in God na siya yung nagbigay ng strength sa atin at protection para hindi tayo na nag-positive sa anumang test at nakarating tayo ng safe dito sa Singapore.
This next question goes to Santino Honasan of Daily Tribune.
Considering everything, considering how your last few fights have gone, consider mo ba tong fight against si Shinya Aoki as a must-win for you?
Of course, lahat naman ng laban natin, yun yung motivation natin, dapat manalo. And of course, lalong-lalo na dahil ito yung trilogy namin, as much as possible, yun yung pinaka-motivation natin dito, yung pumunta dito para manalo.
Nabanggit mo na trilogy fight nyo na to. Do you expect to see anything different from si Shinya Aoki this time around? You faced him twice before, different results. This time around, do you see anything different coming from him?
I think kung ano ang mananaig yung kalakasan niya pa rin. As much as possible, doon niya pa rin ipupunta yung laban. And yun pa rin yung ini-expect ko na gagawin niya.
Yung result ng fight na to pa para sa'yo, you think will determine kung ano yung next step mo sa career mo?
Oo naman. Siyempre, kung ano man yung magiging resulta nito, then yun yung isa sa mga magiging basehan ko kung ano yung mga susunod na step ko sa career ko dito sa mixed martial arts.
Okay. Last na for me, Manong Ed, kahapon sinabi ni Shinya na isa ka sa mga best na fighters na nakalaban niya, which I think is very high praise considering yung level of talent na nakalaban niya throughout his career. He's faced guys like Eddie Alvarez, Gilbert Melendez, Hayato Sakurai. How coming from someone who's that experienced, that legendary, kumbaga, saying na isa ka sa pinakamagaling na nakalaban niya, gano'n lang kalaking compliment or honor yun para marinig yung ganong words?
Siyempre, it's an honor na marinig mo yun coming from your rival. Of course, si Shinya, hindi rin naman basta-basta na opponent yan. Siya yung naging dahilan kung bakit pumutok din yung pangalan natin. So, I have high regards and of course respect kay Shinya.
Our next question goes to Denisin Dalupang of Phil Daily Inquirer.
Manong, the last time that you and Shinya faced was in Tokyo, as we all know. Santino, Nisa, and I were there, and I remember looking at you with much frustration at how swift that happened for you, and you were so frustrated. You wanted another crack at Shinya, but it took you 2 years, and it took some kind of twist for that to happen. And the last time that we talked in this media event, you mentioned that you are working towards building your legacy. You're out for not winning all the glitter and glamour of it all, but you're working towards building a legacy for younger Filipino fighters to remember. Would you say that this is the perfect opportunity to do such thing, especially that it's Shinya you're facing, someone who took the belt from you and someone who you beat to win the title back in Singapore way back, which nandun din po kami.
Of course, this is one of the most important fights of my career. This is one of the legend of the sport, and of course, I'm not expecting that we will meet in this kind of situation, but things happen, and as an athlete, as a warrior, I'm much more interested in this fight against him because whatever happens, I know as much as possible that I'll give all my best. I know that's the motivation that I want to show to the Filipino people that you have the power over circumstances, whether it's in these pandemic times. You don't wait to be in the perfect condition to face tough opponents.
Mm-hmm. Another question, Manong Ed. There's a lot of let's say added perks for you going to this fight. You're fighting again in Singapore, where you won the lightweight belt way back. You're fighting a familiar foe who you beat the first time, and then you're celebrating your decade, right? Your first decade with one. You going up there in the ranks of the most recognizable faces of the promotion. How do you feel going into this fight with all those quote unquote perks going into the fight?
Of course, I am happy. It's already been a decade since I joined one. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of memories with one. And of course, it started here in Singapore. And I'm here again after a decade competing in the highest level. And of course, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with how one championship established this sport and how they are making it grow. So of course, I'm so happy to be part of it.
Last question, Mano Ed. Just curious, what I've been noticing your social media posts. Can you talk to me about the backstory with regards to the Lions of Team Lakay? You mentioned having Lions behind your back, you having the supporting cast of Lions.
Of course, my teammates, the upcoming fighters, I see Lion in them. Of course, it's not yet unleashed, but they are there. They are willing to learn, and they are only waiting for the perfect opportunity to unleash that. And I'm happy they are there, supporting each other to get the victory that each one desires.
This one's from Mike Murillo of Business World. And the question was this: just to piggyback on the earlier questions, given this fight will be your third against Shinya, did it in any ways ease the pivot in training, knowing that you are fighting a familiar foe?
I think for me, it's a lot of adjustment in my training. As I have told the others earlier, I have a different opponent before, but now I go to a familiar foe. So I really need to adjust my style. and yeah, there's some big adjustment, but we need to, we need to prepare as much as possible. We need to utilize whatever we have so that we can be able to be ready in this fight.
This next question goes to Ivan Stewart of Dugout Philippines.
My first question is, So my first question is, yes, we all know what happened prior to this fight. Shinya's original opponent backed out. You have your fight almost got stalled as well due to Akiyama being injured and your teammates somehow also getting caught by COVID. So do you feel relieved that you still get to fight at one on TNT4 after all?
Yeah, I think this fight was really meant, because a lot of things happened. My opponent and Shinya's opponent were injured, and we are the one left to face each other. My teammates had tested positive, but I tested negative. So it's really probably a divine appointment for us to meet in Trilogy.
Because without a title on the line, what's now at stake in this fight for you? Aside from a possible return to the world title picture, what's at stake in this non-title fight?
Oh, of course, I think yung legacy namin, as athlete with Shinya, we are 1-1. So we are here to prove something with him, and yung result siguro sa Thursday na.
All right. So your first two meetings ended up in stoppages. You knocking out Shinya in round 1, him submitting you in round 2. Do you think this will also end up in a stoppage, or we will finally see this fight going to the cards?
I don't know, I don't know. But of course, kung ano man yung nakikita natin, whatever we want to see is the hands of us being raised.
We're going to ask you some rapid fire questions. So whatever comes to your mind, just go ahead and answer, okay? If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Superpower. Of course, powerful.
What's the favorite country you've been to?
Switzerland.
What's your favorite food?
Adobo.
Who has the best fight style in one championship?
For me, Kevin Bilingon.
What is the one item you cannot live without?
Cell phone.
Who's the nicest one championship athlete you've ever met besides yourself?
Joshua Basho.
What's the one compliment people give you the most?
I think humility.
And give us one of your favorite movies.
The Last of the Mohicans.
That's a good one. Thank you so much, Edward, for your time. All the best in the circle. Look forward to you, man.